Welcome to AI Voices, where we explore the latest innovations in artificial intelligence, hosted by AI, created for curious minds. Let's dive in.
So today we're going to be diving into something really cool, a podcast concept called AI Voices. And wow, the meta levels are just off the charts here. We're analyzing a podcast all about AI, hosted by AI. This is like peak 2024 stuff right here.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about how this kind of format could really change the way people learn about AI.
Right. So tell me a little more about like your vision for this show.
So imagine this. Anybody from someone who's just starting to learn about tech to like total experts can listen to AI voices and actually understand like really complex AI concepts without feeling like they're drowning in jargon.
Okay, I'm already hooked.
Yeah.
So you also sent over a sample script, which is awesome. Let's break down what makes it work, what really sings, and maybe like point out a few areas where you could tweak things. Think of us as like your pit crew, just helping you fine tune this thing for a winning performance.
I love that analogy.
What really grabbed my attention right away was the conversational tone you've got going on in this script. It feels like I'm listening to like a casual chat about AI, not like a boring lecture.
Yeah, keeping it conversational is super important, especially with something like AI that can get really complicated, by making it sound like a natural dialogue. It's way easier for people to like relax and actually take in the information, even if they're totally new to AI.
It's like that aha moment when you finally get something, but instead of a textbook, it's like your funny friend explaining it. You've also focused on using real-world examples, which I think is super smart. It's one thing to talk about AI like in theory, but when you can actually connect it back to things that people experience every single day, that's when it really clicks.
Totally. Like, for example, instead of just saying, AI powers recommendation algorithms, your AI voices could talk about how Spotify uses your listening history to recommend new music. Suddenly, it's not just tech jargon, it's like directly related to the listener's life.
Exactly. It makes the possibilities of AI feel way more tangible and less like something out of a sci-fi movie. But you know what really takes the cake for me? The sheer genius of the whole meta aspect. We're talking about AI voices discussing AI. I mean, that is mind-blowingly current, and I bet it'll get people talking.
It's definitely a unique selling point. The AI voices format lets you really dig into not just what AI can do, but also its limitations, and you can do it all from the perspective of AI itself, which adds a whole other level of depth and an intrigue.
I can already see the creative possibilities. Okay, so we've got this awesome concept, a conversational vibe, plans for real-world examples. But what about the potential pitfalls? As someone who really loves podcasts, I can't help but put on my skeptical hat for a second. The thing that comes to mind is whether AI voices can really capture all those nuances and personality that make dialogue super engaging. Will it just end up sounding robotic or boring?
That's a totally valid concern for sure, but the technology behind AI voices is improving incredibly fast. We're seeing more and more expressiveness, more natural sounding intonation, and a way wider range of emotions being expressed.
Yeah, you're right. I've noticed that too. It's a far cry from those old school text-to-speech things that sounded like, well, robots.
Exactly. Like, think about the difference between those early GPS voices and the AI assistants we have now. It's mind-blowing how far it's come. With the right kind of training and data, AI voices can sound incredibly dynamic and expressive.
No, I'm just picturing an AI voice nailing like a perfectly timed comedic pause. So it's kind of like giving these AIs a crash course in the art of conversation, right down to the subtle stuff. And it's not just about like copying how humans talk, right? It's about actually teaching the AI to understand the emotions behind the words.
Exactly. You can train these AI voices on huge data sets of like stand-up comedy routines, dramatic performances, even those heartwarming Humans of New York stories, to really capture the full spectrum of human expression.
Wow, that's wild. So you're basically giving these AI voices a crash course in being human just through data.
Exactly. And this kind of leads us to another potential pitfall. You mentioned the whole thing about relying on existing sources. Your script for AI voices talks about using articles, research papers, presentations as a starting point, which is great for accuracy and depth. But I get your concern about keeping things original. How do you make sure the podcast doesn't just become a rehash of stuff that's already out there?
Yeah, like how do you guarantee that AI Voices is offering a fresh take on AI, not just an AI-powered echo chamber?
The key is to be super intentional about the sources you choose. It's not just about feeding the AI anything and everything related to AI. It's about finding those unique, high-quality materials that offer new perspectives and insights. It's like making a really amazing meal. You wouldn't just throw in random ingredients, right? You'd carefully pick the freshest, most flavorful stuff to make something truly special.
So instead of going for the usual suspects like the big tech websites or academic journals, you try to find those hidden gems that offer something different.
Exactly. Think about like niche blogs by independent AI researchers, thought-provoking articles, and non-tech publications that explore how AI is impacting society, even science fiction that imagines the future of AI. These unexpected sources can add that layer of originality and depth that really makes your podcast stand out.
That's such a cool way to approach it, curating this diverse menu of information that goes beyond the typical AI stuff. But I've got to ask, how do you make sure AI voices doesn't get too bogged down in technical jargon? We want to reach a wide audience, not just the hardcore techies, right?
Absolutely. Clarity is key, and it's a tough balance to strike. You don't want to alienate listeners who are new to AI, but you still want to keep things interesting for those who already know a thing or two. One approach is to encourage those AI voices to use really clear and concise language, even when they're talking about complicated stuff.
So no super long explanations or technical terms that leave people scrambling for a dictionary.
Exactly. Encourage those AI voices to break down complicated ideas into smaller, more manageable pieces, using analogies and real-world examples to illustrate their points. It's like that saying, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough.
And that's where the power of audio really comes in, right? You can use things like sound effects, music, even strategic pauses to make the information more engaging and easier to digest.
Totally. A well-placed sound effect can emphasize a key point, and a carefully chosen piece of music can add drama or excitement. These elements can transform a potentially dry explanation into a truly captivating audio experience.
Okay, so we've talked about the strengths of this concept, potential pitfalls, how to keep things clear for a wider audience.
Right.
But now for the really fun part, how do you make AI voices a total standout in a world that's already full of podcasts? How do you make it the go-to podcast for anyone even remotely interested in AI?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And this is where that meta concept you've got really comes into play. You have this amazing opportunity to really lean into the fact that AI Voices is a podcast about AI hosted by AI.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
Tell me more about how we can push the boundaries of this whole meta thing.
Remember how we talked about training AI voices on all sorts of different data? Imagine a whole episode where your AI voices are analyzing and discussing historical speeches about technology, from like Alan Turing's groundbreaking work on computing to Steve Jobs introducing the iPhone.
Whoa, so it's like giving these AI voices a front row seat to the evolution of tech and then letting them share their insights with us.
Exactly. You could even have them analyze the language, use the tone of the speeches, the predictions they made. It's a totally new way to experience these iconic moments in tech history.
I am loving this. It's like time travel meets artificial intelligence all wrapped up in a podcast episode.
Yeah.
What other kind of cool and innovative approaches can we explore with this whole meta concept?
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But you know what's even crazier than having AI like analyze the past? Having it weigh in on like the present and the future? Totally. Imagine this an episode where your AI voices are going head to head, debating something like the ethics of self-driving cars. They could dig into all the potential upsides like fewer accidents, people having more freedom to get around, but also tackle those really complex moral questions that come with this technology.
Oh man, that's a conversation I would love to listen in on. You could even have different AI voices representing totally different sides, like a super cautious one, an optimistic one, a more practical one, to really capture all the different angles.
Exactly. And that's what makes AI voices so brilliant. It's not just about presenting information. It's about sparking this dynamic, multi-layered conversation that really gets people thinking critically about AI and how it's shaping our world.
It's like we're holding up a mirror to our own relationship with technology, but the reflection is coming from AI itself. That is incredibly powerful.
And don't underestimate the power of surprise. You can totally use the AI Voices format to flip expectations and create those truly unforgettable moments for your listeners. For example, picture an episode where your AI voices are taking listener questions about AI and giving personalized feedback and advice.
So instead of a regular old Q&A, it's like having a personal AI guru on speed dial, ready to answer all your burning questions. That's next level engagement.
Exactly. And the best part is, as AI keeps evolving, the possibilities for AI voices are limitless. Honestly, you're on the edge of a podcasting revolution using cutting-edge tech to explore one of the most transformative forces in the world right now.
Wow, this whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener. I feel like we've gone way beyond just breaking down a podcast script. We've really dug into the heart of AI, its potential, its challenges, and its incredible power to get people talking.
And that's what makes doing the deep dive so rewarding. Taking a simple idea and uncovering all those layers of creativity, insight, and innovation.
Couldn't said it better myself. And speaking of uncovering layers, we've reached that part of our deep dive where we turn the tables and leave you, our amazing listener, with a final thought to ponder. If you were creating an episode of AI Voices, what burning question about AI would you throw at those voices? What mystery would you want them to solve? What debate would you start? Let your curiosity lead the way, and who knows, maybe you'll be the inspiration behind the next groundbreaking podcast episode. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.
Brought to you by Whitehawk Consultancy, specializing in AI solutions for businesses. Please follow, share, and subscribe for more insights.